Well, overall, still underwater. The majority of the country does not like what he's doing domestically. You especially see his numbers slipping on the economy, which is concerning for him because that's always been a strong suit of his as far as the polling goes. But that's the general public. His base loves what he's doing. There are obviously quibbles about Epstein and support for Ukraine and things like that. But among Republicans, he's overwhelmingly popular. And as someone who can't run for re-election again because of term limits, that's probably good enough for him.
What are the obvious conclusions, the immediate things that occur to your mind when we compare Trump's 200 days to both himself and other presidents, I guess?
Well, he's obviously someone who's hit the ground running. It's hard to think of a parallel of a president who came into office with such familiarity and knowledge of the levers of power and how much he's been able to get done, especially on the executive side, things that he could do by himself, things like executive orders, but also it seems like every day he's announcing some kind of action on a bunch of different fronts, pushing Congress to do something, pushing a foreign country to come to a trade deal, pushing something on the domestic front that his base really wants as far as his perceived enemies go, whether it's Democrats and claims about Russian election meddling in 2016 or on the Epstein front. So it's just kind of nonstop action in a way that I think is unique to the way he operates compared to other presidents, and even compared to his first term, which felt head-spinning enough at the time.
And how do we distinguish between the rhetoric and the substance here? Because on the foreign sphere, he's often criticized as being the taco president. Trump always chickens out. There's always an announcement about a tariff and then it gets pushed back, and we talk about all across our program today what's going on with Ukraine. But domestically, take immigration or something like that, he seems to be very busy. Has he actually been effective? As he said, I want to reduce immigration, I want to stop this type of immigration, I want to take these steps. Have they actually happened? Has the rhetoric and the substance aligned there?
Domestically, on immigration, as an example, absolutely. I mean, unauthorized border crossings are down, arrests are up. They're making a big splash about the deportations, and they're touting even decreases in legal immigration. So on immigration, for sure, the rhetoric is matching the substance, and there's the data to show it that the administration is not shy to flaunt.
And will that hold up? I mean, the question we wrestle with in this country when it comes to immigration, there's always legal obstacles to overcome, and it strikes us from afar that Trump just ignores the legal obstacles. And if he wants to reduce immigration, if he wants to act extrajudicially, he'll just do it. Is he still free to do that? Is that still a characteristic of the first 200 days, that he's got these ideas and he's not actually shackled by legal parameters?
I'm not quite sure I would go as far as to say he's unshackled from legal parameters, but there is a way that he approaches the legal system that he's used in his own personal legal affairs, especially when he was running for office last year, where there's a ruling that goes against him in a lower court, and then while he appeals, and there are lengthy appeals processes to go from district courts to appellate courts ultimately to the Supreme Court, if it goes that route. While that lengthy process plays out, he's not barred from doing what he does. So while there are legal questions over some of the things he does and legal efforts to stop him, there is a lengthy process that has to occur before he is actually stopped by a court, especially if it's something that goes all the way to the Supreme Court, because that's not something that happens overnight here.
Yeah, and he almost uses that as a tactic, that if he wants to do something and there may be legal advice out there that you can't do it, it seems his approach will be, I'm going to do it until I literally am stopped from doing it.
Absolutely. And this was something we saw time and again last year, whether it was on the documents case or any of the other cases he was facing, where he would find legal ways, to kind of work the procedural end of these legal trials, to gum up the works and push the jury verdict farther and farther and farther away, to the point that it was after the election. And then he won, and now it's all gone away. So this is a kind of a tried and true tactic for him.
That's so interesting. And how popular is he? How's he been received in terms of how he's handled domestic affairs and foreign affairs? What's the popularity position when it comes to Trump?
Well, overall, still underwater. The majority of the country does not like what he's doing domestically. You especially see his numbers slipping on the economy, which is concerning for him because that's always been a strong suit of his as far as the polling goes. But that's the general public. His base loves what he's doing. There are obviously quibbles about Epstein and support for Ukraine and things like that. But among Republicans, he's overwhelmingly popular. And as someone who can't run for re-election again because of term limits, that's probably good enough for him.
And he probably won't run for election again, and he's not allowed to run for election again. Or we've just discussed his relatively casual regard for legal requirements. Do you get a sense that he's got a taste for it still, and something might happen, or really he's two and done?
No, I think he's two and done. I think this is something that he likes to talk about sometimes because he knows it gets the media worked up a little bit. But I think he is views himself as a very successful, action-oriented president. He had a comeback that no one thought was possible. He defied the odds, and I think it's good enough for him.
Does he like winding the media up? Is that because from afar it seems he says these things, some of them are quite jokey, and then relatively po-faced media write it up seriously. Sometimes he's being serious and people won't wonder whether it's a joke. Is that part of the game? I mean, you work in the media in the US. Does he like? Is that part of the shtick that he wants to wind the media up? He wants to always be the center of attention. That's the thing that keeps him going.
Well, I do think there is a part of him that probably enjoys the attention and enjoys seeing the media twist in the wind sometimes. But it's also strategic. If there's any cracks forming in the base, nothing gets the base united like opposition to the fake news or legacy media, and in their words. And you see it with the Epstein case, where the base was not satisfied with the amount of transparency and the amount of information that was coming out over the case. And then there was a Wall Street Journal article that says he wrote Epstein some kind of birthday note. And then MAGA came together. It was the best thing that could have happened for him because everyone in the base on kind of on a dime went, oh, this is fake news. And we know this impulse, and the impulse is defense. And we have to unite in defense of Donald Trump against the news media, which is always out to get him. And as a result, out to get all of us, his supporters.
So what's the biggest threat to him? Is it that there may be no peace in Ukraine, or actually is it that the economy could go down and the tariffs, the very chaotic tariff regime could be a problem? Or is it something like Epstein where he doesn't live up to his responsibilities? As we look ahead at the next 1,000 days, what's the biggest threat to Donald Trump, do you think?
I think it's probably the economy, because I do think there are fissures in the base over Epstein and in foreign affairs, and that for sure can pop up if it's not handled the way the base wants. But the economy is an issue that spreads beyond the base. And I think it's a big issue that brought a lot of people who are not diehard MAGA to his side in last year's election. I think those are all issues that I think have the possibility for division. But on the economy, the ripple effects of division economically just spread farther, I think.
Just finally, is he lucky in his opposition? There appears, at least from the outside, Tal, to be there's no great democratic surge, no great democratic leader who's maybe outside of New York potentially, but there's no great figure that seems to be taking him on.
No, not at all. They're still licking their wounds from last year's election, and they're still struggling. How much do we want to fight? How much do we need to be in opposition to Trump? Is being in opposition to Trump enough, or do we need to really remake ourselves from the ground up with a whole new image and a whole new appeal? And no one has the answer. And it appears that, just talking to some Democrats, that this is not something that could really come together until 2028, until you have, in their hopes, kind of a shining knight come and with their charisma and brave ideas unite the party. 2028 is a long time away, and 2028 doesn't help them next year when control of Congress is up for grabs. Yeah, they're in the wilderness big time.
It's such an interesting, American politics is such an interesting thing to get into. It always makes us think of our own country as well in comparison. Tal, great to speak to you. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, my pleasure.